Hey everybody, it's Armin. So today we're here with, I think, part 6, I think, of the Mr. Earl's adventure. So this one is the reconstruction of, I guess this is probably his 3rd or 4th motor. Second one from me, but this is now a 2.4 D-stroke motor. We just got it back from the machine shop and I'm going to be reassembling it. Got the head sitting over there, nothing fancy done to the head, it's just been gone through by the machine shop. The, the 3-angle valve job and the resurfacing, and that's pretty much it. No, we also did seals, valve seals. And then the motor itself, as you can see, it's got some fancy pistons on it. Those go with these are Esslinger pistons, rods, and crankshaft, which is like I said, the 2.4 D-stroke motor. So we'll be verifying on camera that this is a 2.4 motor by verifying that the stroke is indeed 94 millimeters, not 100 millimeters like the standard crankshaft would be. This is just for transparency. I've got all the assorted parts that we've taken off of the previous motor that we'll be using on this one, and then the new ones as appropriate for replacement. Oh, also I'd like to show off, I got a new to me engine stand. Our scrap guy found it at one of his pickup places that he picks up scrap, and he gave it to me. I just had to take the rust off of the wheels, but it's awesome. It's a lot better than the other one. It looks like I have a lot more room back here to deal with the rear main seal. All right, well, let's get started on this thing. So as we roll the motor over, you see that we have the ARP main studs on this. We have the aftermarket rods, and then we don't have a balance shaft gear on here. The 2.3 crankshafts do not come with one, at least when we get them supplied. The 2.5s, you can remove them, but again, this doesn't prove it's a 2.3 crank. We obviously will still verify it, but at least wanted to show. So I'm going to start in by putting in my balance shaft delete and my oil pump. I just want to point out, if you haven't seen any other videos, I always whip this wrench out. This is your Icon wrench from Harbor Freight, and I use this one because of the offset on the head right there. That allows me to install the rear main without having to take it off of the stand, because the access in the back is very, very slim. So being able to get in here and ratchet all these with a finger on the back, allows you to get them tightened up without having to take the thing off. So I get the rear main seal installed without having to unmount it like I've done in the past. So these things are really handy. So a couple of times I've installed these ARP 625 head studs, and every single time I've rounded out one of my my Allen bits trying to get them in. In the instructions it does say that you can go in and use a tap to try and clean the threads out, get them really nice in the block. So I'm going to give this a shot and see if it helps me install them a little bit easily, maybe more easily. Anything would help, So let's see how it goes. So I had a little bit of resistance going down. I used the small ratchet I have because then I'm not, risking damaging the crap out of some threads with a big breaker bar or something. It makes you very aware of how you're tapping. So I did get some material out of there. It threaded in nicely, and then it started getting a little bit difficult. So hopefully, I'm gonna go back and blow the threads out and turn the motor upside down, spray it with some brake clean up in the holes, make sure we get that nice and clean. But I want to at least demonstrate how that came out. So it did pull some material. So that means I'm gonna do all of these. This is gonna take just a second. Alright, so I just finished tapping all of them. Good news is that only 2 of them came out, just like the first one. The first one came out pretty grody, and then one other. Other than that, it was very little. This is an M10 by 1.25. That's what size the head holes are. So we took care of all those. I got them down as far as the tap would go, because obviously this isn't a crazy long tap, but it seemed to do some work. So my mini Matco. All right, I'm gonna go have lunch, then we're gonna install some head studs. All right, I'm happy to report that all the way down, it went in pretty damn easily. So I'm gonna do the rest of these now. Just wanted to make sure that the whole thing worked with threading them out, and it seems like that was a good idea. So if you're doing these head studs, then do the same. If you remember from the last video, the difficulty of removing one of these stripped out the head, so I had to use the double nut on it. So I'll have to reinstall using double nut as well. Alright, so all those actually went in really freaking easy, and again, for the same reason on the tap that I used a very small ratchet, I use a very small ratchet on these just to make sure that they don't, get bound up or anything, because the last thing I want to do is damage this or damage the head. And it looks like my bit survived. There's no damage to it, so this is a really good situation. I like this. Okay, now, I gotta take care of copper coating, or copper spraying the head gasket. We have a new Kinetic gasket over here. New Kinetic head gasket. This is a, let's see, 30 thou. So we're gonna be throwing this guy on. And moving on. Alright, the head studs are now torqued. The torque sequence was 30, 0, 30, 0, 30, 50, 80. And we always, checked several times. And then for fun, I had Tony do my check on my 80. So I wanted to point out that it looks like they did a fly cut across the top of this. I haven't seen this, I haven't gotten a motor back that had a fly cut done on top. So it was pretty cool. They must have pulled the pins and done that. So as you see, we have our BC 400 springs in here. So that's just the standard ones. This does have a 0403 cam, so it's the biggest ones that BC makes for this motor. We will be since I told the machine shop, don't worry about trying to do the valve clearances. They weren't really doing any valve cutting of any sort, just the the basic valve seat stuff. So we shouldn't see anything crazy out of tolerance. I'm just going to throw a set of like 302s in here or something like that, just a whole set of them for our set of our valve lash. So now the head's all done. I will need to plug off EGR. I think I'm going to order in just an EGR plug for the back side of this thing. What was done on the previous assembly, not mine, the previous shop, was they just ran an NPT plug into the back of the head and then ran another NPT plug in here. Not really my style, So, right, time for cams. All right, we have our full set of 302s over here. I'm gonna go ahead and put those on, then we'll see what lash we get. right, let's go ahead and measure the stroke on this thing. The way I'm going to measure the stroke is I'm going to use this extension, and I'm going to use my ruler. We're going to take the measurement of the first versus the second cylinder and see where they come out to. The difference between them should equal 94 millimeters. Let's see. Let's drop this guy in here. Let's hit this guy in here. And we have 125 millimeters. Go to the second one. We have 31 millimeters. Should be 94. We finished assembling the motor, got it over here, got the wiring harness on it, got everything tightened down. The next steps, I need to clean out the intake manifold, I need to repair the radiator drain plug. I was the one who installed it last time, and it does happen once in a while that they just, I guess, get bound up, because I mean it went in very easily when I installed it before, and I gave it a light tightening, and then when I went to go remove it this time, it just straight popped right off. So I'm gonna drill it out, see if I can't, repair the threads, stick something back in there, plug it up. All right, so I spent today putting this thing together, got the motor in, got the transmission in, got all that other stuff done. I'm leaving apart the cowl because that's where I gotta put in the EGR block off when that shows up. I have taken the liberty of blocking off the port here that was attached to the valve cover, which now has a breather, and then the port that was on the side, that is on the side of the block for the block breather, that comes around and hooks into a little catch can right here, also with a little breather. And then the port that is on the intake manifold is also blocked off. So all that's taken care of. This thing won't be able to hydrolock on oil anymore. All that, and I also took some time and cleaned up under the engine because obviously there was still some oil laying around. The next things I'll need to do are, until the EGR delete gets in, I'll have to make a new AN line to run to the filter from the engine, and then get some filters because they were a special size. I want to point out I did replace out the oil line that runs from the motor to the filter, and I sheathed it over with some some split loom. That way it doesn't chafe against any of the parts around the back of the motor. I've also taken care of bleeding the oil system, so you just unplug the cam angle sensor, spin the motor over for a while, wait for the accu sump and the engine to show oil pressure. So now we're sitting at something like 30-ish PSI in the accu sump, and the level's good. So I also threw a bunch of zip ties on a bunch of stuff, cleaned up the engine bay. Let's get this guy installed and then we can run this thing. All right, I've got everything back together. So we have the EGR block off in the back. We have the cowl stuff, lid obviously. Now I don't have any coolant in this system. If you'll remember, we put copper spray on the head gasket, so what we need to do is we need to heat cycle it several times before we consider the head gasket baked. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up now. Let's see how it fires up. Probably from when the engine blew up, but no leaks. And it's struggling to run right now because we're still in the 2.5 tune, but I at least wanted to get this thing running and idling. So we'll let it idle for a little bit and then we'll shut it off. All right, so I've run through several heat cycles, 3 or 4, I forget, but I let it run for a good 3 or 4 minutes, shut it back down, let it cool all the way off, restart it. Now that that's all done, we're vacuum filling it with my snap-on filler here. This thing is crazy fast compared to the off-brand or other brand ones that I had. I like it. It helps me save a lot of time. So we're going to take this thing out for a test drive probably here in a minute. Just got to take care of the bleeding procedure now. All right, we're running another round of burping because on the data log yesterday I had some temp spikes, which indicate to me there's still air in the system. So now I have the front end really high up in the air. I've corrected the level of the reservoir using an Irwin quick grip to bring up the rear end of it. And I also have the rear end sitting a little bit lower because it's outside the shop down the step. So hopefully this will take care of it and then we can go out for our second data log.